All right, guys, we're back after a short hiatus with episode 43 of the HYPEWORKS podcast with myself, Alex,
Jake
here, and lovely Rachel joining us today from North Carolina.
Hey.
Okay.
Really cool to have you, Rachel. And as we talked about pre-live, your background is really interesting because we've had many guests on this podcast in different areas of marketing, but we haven't really talked so much about brand and whatnot. And that's what this episode is going to be about today. So looking forward to a deep dive into that.
Kind of. I think it's about the evolution of branding and the integration with AI and how that affects it, right?
Yeah, there's a lot to go over, I think. Things have changed. I don't know if you guys have noticed in the past few years in our industry.
Definitely.
I've noticed, yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Rachel. Do you want to just introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Rachel Hernandez. I am the Senior Director of Content at NextNet. NextNet's a holding company. We're based in the US, but we have businesses all over the world, primarily in the organic growth space. So we have a lot of SEO agencies under our umbrella. The most notable are probably the Hoth, Authority Builders, and linkbuilder.io, though we also own freelance marketplaces, generative AI platforms, etc. So things that really help people scale their organic marketing efforts. We don't do paid media as much.
Do you, sorry, I mean, for the audience, I have read the website, so I'm doing this for the audience's benefit here. But I'd just like to say, with the background of your company and what you do you, are these businesses, are they acquired by your holding company or are they like built from inside? Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
They're acquired. The Hoth was the first acquisition that was pretty major, and that was in 2010. That being said, like I joined the company in 2016, but really NextNet has shaped and grown the Hoth into something completely different from, I mean, if you think it was an SEO agency, and still is, but we do other stuff now too. But if you think of the difference between SEO 15 years ago and SEO now, like obviously some major structural changes in terms of just strategy that we're giving to clients, but also like the types of things that we hire and the products that we're releasing, like they've changed dramatically. So
yeah. So when you work, obviously, what are your main focuses, your day-to-day tasks? Like what do you kick off?
Yeah, I mean, I feel incredibly lucky that I get to do content. When I came into the role, or at least like adjacent to the role I'm in now, a lot of it was content marketing in order to increase lead gen through organic efforts. So I really focused on creating content on the website primarily that addressed different areas of the funnel and search intent, a lot of really great blog content, a lot of how-tos. And then that's expanded into overseeing organic social media. We do a lot of white papers, webinars, basically anything that can get an audience to engage with us and what we do and grow some trust and move them down that funnel is kind of under my umbrella. So it's super fun.
Okay.
I mean, I can't complain about the job itself.
And your main clients, like, are they small, medium enterprises, enterprise level clients?
Runs the gamut. So the Hoth especially because we have 3 different agencies that really address that organic growth, and they all kind of have different places in the ecosphere or the ecosystem. Sorry. But I would say the Hoth primarily is it started as a white label company. So a lot of other agencies would resell our products. We're like very, very good at scaling while maintaining quality. But I would say that's more of like the SMB client base at this point. The entry point is very easy. It's not too expensive. Everything is sort of done for you. You don't need to know a ton about SEO. And then I'd say the authority builders and link builder clients are going to be more on that enterprise level or more of that more senior marketing person on another team that just knows they need SEO, but just doesn't want to have to build backlinks because that sucks to do. It's really hard. And we do a good job.
Yeah, there's a lot of development in that backlinking space. You know, everyone always says that like SEO is kind of the dark arts of marketing because it's a bit of a black box for some people. I mean, I think it's a bit of a black box as well.
Yeah.
You put an article up, but the link building space is really interesting, right? Because a lot of different strategies and tactics of which people can build links. And I know that one thing that's like super popular since like AI and particularly automated distribution has come about is that there's a lot of websites now that say that they'll give you like 1,000 backlinks if you just use their product. What's your opinion on these new services?
Don't do it. That's a dangerous game you're playing. That maybe could have worked. I don't even think 10 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, but we're looking closer to 15 years ago. Google, it's under some fire for other things lately, but you can't argue with the algorithm being, I almost want to say intelligent. And they are able to develop these signals that really show that if you're getting 1,000 backlinks or if you're getting them from like a non-repeatable source, if you're not putting the work in for them, they know. And that's something that was less risky before because Google didn't necessarily de-index your website if you went against their practices, their rules. But with the advent of AI and all of this like crappy content coming in, they've upped their game. And now whether it's, content that's like you're posting 100 blogs a day because you can do them all on ChatGPT in 5 minutes and you think more content is better, or you think more links is better because some people like to think equals more. They'll not only ding you, it's not only like it won't count towards your rankings, but they will actually hurt how well your website does. So you never want to take a shortcut, especially when it comes to the links going to your site and your on-site content. It's just not. You might be able to get away with it for a minute, but it's a losing game. You're going to lose everything if you
Okay.
keep up with those practices.
Here's the counter argument to that, Rachel. I was just saw the other day about HubSpot, and you'll know this much better than me.
Oh, yeah.
But when you look at HubSpot on Ahrefs, when you look at their traffic and their backlinks, everything, it's going up and up and up, like literally until last year when there was an algorithm change, right, and then it fell off a cliff.
Yep.
So if you're a startup person and you see that, you're like, holy crap! Like I could spend 10 years doing everything right and following the rules of the road, etc., and then all of a sudden, like my traffic's gone. What's your thoughts on
My
that
take
one?
on the HubSpot thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that actually it's a good example because it's a brand that's so well recognized. And I have friends at HubSpot, so I don't want to say anything like too. But I think one of the reasons that they were hit is the website the content itself got really more general than what like the HubSpot brand actually offers its users. It became a go-to for like all digital marketing content, which isn't necessarily a bad thing all the time. But I think one thing that Google recognized is like they are using their brand to kind of go beyond what they're actually offering and what they're actually selling, because it's still a business. It's not just a place where people can go learn about digital marketing. And from my understanding, that's why they got the ding, is they kind of moved a little bit too far away from what their initial focus was. And yeah, Google wants to send users to the best possible answers to their questions. So, if you're a brand that specializes in PPC and, that's kind of like your thing, and then you realize you can rank higher for doing other sorts of posts, and you get backlinks from them because you're always at the top because your DR is 90. Again, that's not a sustainable course. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
Go on, McGregor. Go on.
No, I was just going to say, like, my immediate follow-up question would be, I know you can't speak for HubSpot, but what would you do in a situation where, like, your traffic is kind of gone and I guess you go back to fundamentals? Is that would be the way?
I
Or?
mean, and I won't speak for HubSpot. I'll speak for any brand that this happens to, right? Because like that's not an abnormal thing to happen. I would repurpose some of the pages on that website because they already do. I'm not a fan of like taking pages down or removing them because just by nature of them already being established, even if they've gotten like a ding or whatever, they still have more power than something new. And so I would pivot and see like how can I take this content and reuse it so that it is, and rewrite it so that it's more in line or in theme as to what we're actually doing here. So when
Yeah.
people click on a HubSpot link and it's a post about, I don't know, like using billboards to market, like you kind of,
Yeah.
you want to pivot to something else.
Updating content's not the most sexy job, like, but it's got to be
Good,
done.
though.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like that is one of the things that it's such an easy win for companies. And I'll say like I've been doing because I do all the content for NextNet, and I do a lot of content for the Hoth. We do like 2 pretty intense posts per week, just blog posts. And I've been focused on new content these past like this whole past year, because there's just so much going on. Like I'd be doing our readers like a disservice if I didn't talk about like ranking on ChatGPT or showing up in AI overviews. Now I'm doing a lot of content around budgeting because it looks like we're gearing towards a recession, and like people who are running their own businesses, where do we cut? What do we try to figure out how to prioritize when budgets start to tighten? But when I'm able to go back and audit content that's been live for a couple of years and it's still relevant to what we sell, and we do a rewrite, I change the date on our CMS, we update the sources, that content jumps like immediately. You can go from page 2 or 3 to page 1 much more quickly than if you're starting from scratch.
You've kind of stolen my thunder there, because I was going to ask some questions about the whole AI SEO space, but my prequel to that question was about if you could give like a startup or a small medium business like 2 or 3 tips for a place to start and the expected time to rank. Could you do that? Because we have a lot of startups listen to our podcast, so I think that it'd be really useful to get your take as an expert.
Yeah. And thank you for calling me an expert. So it starts, and this is a cliche, but it's very true. And Google wants to send its users not only to the best possible answer to their question, but we're including user experience in there. So if you are a startup and you're starting fresh and you want to be able to rank, it really starts with that technical SEO and the site structure, and making sure the user experience on your site is an enjoyable one. And not even like people will talk about site speed. Yes, that's very important. Nobody wants to be waiting. But it's even like, is your website easy to figure out for somebody? Are they able to find what they're looking for?
Tell you what, just to interject quickly, I tell you what really kind of annoys me is like the headline. Like it's very hard to find websites with good headline copy.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Like, because when you land on a website and you see a headline at the top and the hero and it's really good, that really draws me in. Like if I see that.
What's an example like of a good headline and a bad headline?
Oh my God, you put me on the spot. You put me on the spot. Anything Apple does, they're clever copywriters.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that plays into the AI thing too. I know I was talking about structure, but even the content on your website, because now I think we said like the easy way out's not necessarily good. Is it's so tempting to ask ChatGPT or a similar LLM to come up with your header, come up with all the landing page copy for your website. Generally, it's not very good, and also everybody else in your industry who is strapped for time is taking the same shortcut and they're getting the same headline. And you're all probably going to pick the one that you think sounds the best, and it's going to be the same thing. So it's just kind of like this race to the middle and not saying anything particularly new or interesting.
It's taken us 15 minutes to mention AI, so we've done well.
Set a record. So to go back to the question, site structure. So we turn people away all the time because they're like, we want to rank, and we don't do web development. We do technical audits and stuff, but we don't do actual like website building at any of my companies. And we turn people away all the time because we're like, you can add all the content, we can build all the links to your site, but if they're all leading to something that's very thin and it's not valuable and is kind of garbage, it's not going to work. So it always starts with a built website. And then you go to the content on your website. Links are third, because nobody's going to link to you if there's nothing to link about. You need more than a homepage. You need some educational content. You need some resources. I say, like, if you're in an industry where any sort of like tool that does like a calculation, like that's really great to add to your site. If you're like in the real estate, or like for us, we have like keyword finders and all these SEO tools, and those drive a lot of traffic too. And then you get to the link building. That's third. It's the most important, but you got to have the strong foundation to get the links.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people with the whole return on investment calculator.
Oh, that one probably not.
I'm not sure if I trust some of these return on investment calculators, but I've seen a few about. Use our service and you'll always win.
Yeah, I mean, for us, and I can speak to our tools, is those are where, it's a balancing act, because a lot of people who use tools are not necessarily going to buy. They come in, they're like, okay, I just want to like learn how to use this keyword, or I want to see which links are pointing back to my website without having to pay for SEMrush or Ahrefs. And they're not necessarily trying to buy, but we get some amazing links to our website linking to those tools and roundups. So we'll get links from SEMrush, Backlinko. We have gotten links from HubSpot, Neil Patel, a lot of people in our industry, because it's just like a really great way for someone to throw a source in on their website. So I definitely
just speaking of tools, I got billed by Ahrefs today, $29. So no one can have an excuse not to afford Ahrefs. It's like the basic plan. What's your perspective on like tools and in the industry right now? Like, could be content. Like, I saw an argument today that like Webflow is now irrelevant because of all these AI content builders.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think so. I'll start with the tools question. I do use Ahrefs. That's my primary tool. When I do my own work, I've been using it since 2016. I think generally it does have the best data. It's very straightforward, and I'm just a fan. SEMrush is also great. I think it's a little bit more expensive. Again, I'm just used to using Ahrefs. For like what I do with SEO, like with optimization, one of the tools I've been using, and this is an AI tool, but it's been around for a while, and there's a few similar ones. I use clearscope.io, which is similar to Surfer, if anybody's used Surfer. But essentially, if you're writing a piece of content, because I used to do this like in spreadsheets, it'll give you I think it's like the top 30 things that are ranking for your keyword. And it'll give you the intent. It'll give you common headers. It'll give you the length of the posts that are ranking the highest. Like, it gives you kind of all the data for you to go in and say, okay, this is what Google likes to rank for this. And I used to go through literally like and click on the search results and be like, okay, this is how long, this is how many H2s, this is how it's structured. So that does it all for you. And those have been really helpful for me.
Okay. What is your opinion, and maybe there's some secret sauce in here, but your own content writing team, do they use ChatGPT?
No.
Is it banned?
It's not banned. I mean, okay, so there's a difference. There's a difference between using ChatGPT to write the content and using ChatGPT to get some ideas, to brainstorm, to maybe give you like a good outline. But again, like, so I took this AI class last fall, and one of the things that we were tasked to do was like, they gave us, this project where we'd had to start our own business just using AI. And while you're doing it, you're like, wow, this is amazing. Like, you're giving it these prompts. You're like, where would it be most successful? What's my target audience? Where are they living? Can you give me like price prediction? Like all of this stuff. And you're like, man, anybody can just start a business right now using ChatGPT. This is amazing. And then we went to do to present our findings to the rest of the students in the class, and everybody's business was essentially the same.
And full of like fake data and
And
fake
full of fake
information.
data, like, you know, so it seems really cool while you're using it, and I get like the temptation, but for actual writing, it's a race to the middle. And
I agree.
now you're like, we're still like in a phase where I think anybody in our industry can kind of recognize if something's AI. There are those tells that we can pick up on. My mom couldn't, right? But in 10 years, she probably could.
Yeah.
And so you really got to keep
Maybe.
that.
It might be
Maybe.
too good by then.
Portland, I should use her as an example. But you guys get what, like, we're in it, so we see it. But it's going to be so normalized and so recognizable in not that much time that it's a dangerous way to set yourself up. And when people recognize it, like you even see this with like brands trying to use AI like in their ads. I remember Kim Kardashian doing something for Skims, and everybody was like, that's AI. Like, you don't want to alienate your users. You don't want to come off as inauthentic. That's kind of like the opposite of what we're trying to do.
I know, but I saw like I think it was like PwC. Sorry, PwC, if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's you. They had like their 2025 AI review, and the first line in it is, "It's not just it's a," and I'm just like who allowed that? I thought everybody knew that. I have a new process myself now where I might ask AI, but I will never send it. I'll rewrite everything. And I think that sometimes that roughness in the way that a human writes, it's like art that's generated on a computer versus it being drawn by a hand. The hand, there's soul, there's shakiness, there's emotion in there.
Preach. I mean, and we're seeing that, like, to talk about branding, I think we're seeing that authenticity is really what's winning right now, whether it's a brand being a little messy on TikTok or a similar platform. I don't want to get like too political, but I'm based in the US, and apparently I think one of the reasons why we have the president that we have at this moment is, for some reason, he hit on that feeling of being authentic and a straight shooter, whether or not you think that's real or agree with his politics. Like, he was outside of that, what felt like an artificial norm. So yeah, 100%.
Do you also think, Rachel, just picking up on the branding piece, like all of these AI companies, the branding is very similar. Like I think ChatGPT kind of set the benchmark here. So everyone basically wanted to copy the same style and the vibe, and that's kind of rubbed off on everyone because everyone wants to be this like, mythical, unlimited, like it's got this kind of ripple effect, I think, on the general industry. I see a lot of brands now copying that, like from out with AI. It's kind of strange.
Yeah, I mean, I think like there's no denying that this is doing what the internet did for the common user in the 90s. And we're just at the beginning of this. So I don't fault brands or companies to kind of try and jump on that train and that tech aspect, because it's not just where the marketing industry is moving. It's where we are all moving in terms of technology. So you kind of have to.
Do you try and fight that, like as a creative person? Like, how do you deal with that on a day-to-day?
You mean fight like using
Well,
AI?
clients have expectations, right? Of they see the marketplace and they say, "Oh, we want to be like them." How do you fight that?
I mean, this is kind of how I see it, from a brand and a user experience perspective. Is if you're working with like end users or B2B clients, and you're not looking at like investors or people who like you're hoping to acquire, et cetera, if you're looking for clients, they don't care how you do it. They just care that it gets done. So you can sell AI as part of your process and your writing process or your creative process or your development process and say like, it helps us do this and it's quicker and it's better, but they don't really care. They just want their stuff on time and they want it to be good. So if I am doing, and I have had to do this, like benefit-led messaging, it's not, and have to involve AI, because again, we do have AI companies under our umbrella. I'm not selling the AI, I'm selling the deliverable, which if we could, lock, I don't know, I was going to that like Shakespeare analogy. Like if 100 monkeys with typewriters in a room could do the same thing in the same amount, people don't care. They just want the result.
I agree. I totally agree. I've got my own experiences there. Yeah, so many things. So I think that the best way forward is a hybrid approach. There's a few different ways that I think, the way that I do, for people who don't know that are listening, obviously I own an AI automation agency. That is what I do. But I also believe that the development of how that AI and automated process plays out affects the creativity. And one big key cornerstone of my philosophy when I work with clients, because I specialize in marketing, sales, and operations processes, but particularly when it comes to the content marketing, is how I design that workflow around the client. So I'll give you an example. Someone comes to me and they go, I had some clients in the past. We'll give you two sides of the story of where things weren't going correct and where we improved. But before, when people would come and say, okay, we want X amount of content, sure, we can do it. But unless that brand is involved with us and giving us the right kind of information, then we can't get a great output. Yeah. Because it's the same. You show me the input, and I'll show you the output. I'll amplify the amount of output you see. So we started really mapping the process around those people and going, how do you want to create content? What is the best format you can create content in? So one guy calls me up the other day and he says, I want to create content. And I said, okay, join the queue of people that want to create content, but how do you want to create content? He says, well, I like talking. Could be like a Zoom call like this. I said, great. That's how we're going to do it then. We'll take your Zoom call. We'll have you interviewed in your Zoom call. From that Zoom call, we'll automatically edit it, subtitle all those videos, extract the transcript, create a blog, draft that blog so that you can edit it. You can change the internal and the backlinks in the blog. And when you hit submit, we'll turn that blog into social media content and distribute it through all the channels and into Facebook groups. And that's it. But the core of the process is coming from his head. Wow. And it's in his tonality. Because if you lean on the AI way too much in terms of the creation, then it's not a hybrid approach. The AI is maybe 75%, you're 25%. And you need to minimize only using the AI in places where it can actually provide an advantage, which might be if I stutter, if I stall, or I don't quite say things, we can still correct it and then execute in the tonality. So I totally agree.
Yeah, and the way you're using AI is not that different from, like repurposing content in general. Right. Or you're just doing it. And that's, I think, what it comes down to, and I think you hit the nail on the head with the hybrid approach, is because you can train AI to write there are people who can train AI to write really, really well. But the ideas have to come from you. The AI can't do the thinking for you. Or it's just all going to be like this. Sorry, it's actually, well, it's not that early for me. I just haven't had as much coffee. But it's all, none of it's going to be new. Like the idea, the thinking, the take has to come from you. Or
the technical word slop, is that what people say?
Slop.
Yeah, I started to enjoy the rough content. I started to enjoy that roughness. I think especially, Alex, you follow my Twitter, but recently I've just been firing things off from the hip about what I think. And I don't use AI to edit it. I just shoot it out there. And when I copy, what I've started to do as well as almost like a review process is copy my tweet into AI after I've written it and say, do you understand this? And then it will go, here's a refined version. And I'll say, here's why your version's not as good as my version, and I want to see the logic, but I've started to like Uno reverse card the Chat GPT.
I think another issue as well, I had this with a client recently, is it sometimes overcomplicates things. So I asked ChatGPT to help me build a agenda, and it gave me like a really built out agenda, like fully built out and stuff. And when I talked to the client, it was like, we don't need that. We need like a very simple agenda.
Yeah.
I think the concern with AI as it gets more powerful is like business and successful business, a lot of the beauty is in simplicity, right? Like they take away a lot of the noise. I think the problem with AI is it might be too noisy and too busy.
Yeah, it's trying to do a lot. I
Yeah.
mean, and anybody who's sort of like, I've at this point, I think, beaten this out of my GPTs. But like, if you do a social post, any like loves emojis, it loves cliches, it doesn't sound like a person. It really doesn't. And that's not, maybe if you're recreating something like that for a business proposal or whatever, I can see using ChatGPT, but certainly not for a tweet, right? Like, because that's supposed to be you talking.
I agree. I think that it doesn't have a soul.
Yeah, it doesn't have a soul. And thank goodness. I'd be worried if it did.
It doesn't have a soul. Yeah. Okay, Alex, are we on to the big one?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, Rachel, this is the final question, but it is the one that puts people on the spot.
On edge.
It's a it can be about anything though. It could be about yourself, it could be about the world, technology, your industry, your job, but your future predictions.
Oh, okay. Let me pull up ChatGPT. No, I'm just kidding. My future predictions for anything.
Anything.
So, marketing.
Could be.
Could be.
Okay, yeah. I mean, again, AI, I think I've said this. This is it's happening. The cat's out of the bag. I would say one of the things that I'm going to be keeping an eye on, it's kind of gone back to what we're talking about with the hybrid. You don't let it think for you. The copyright stuff that has been coming up and will continue is very interesting. So I think that's something that if you're using AI content, if you're using AI to create images or videos, because by nature it has to draw from what has already existed and what people have already done. The question is, does that content belong to you? Does that content belong to your company? What are the trademark, right? Like, what are the copyrights? And I think in the next few years, that's going to get very, very interesting. And it's something that people are going to need to keep in mind if they're relying heavily on AI to create content or websites for their businesses. So that's my warning. But yeah, cat's out of the bag. You gotta get with it. But that doesn't mean, again, like it can't do the thinking for you. I compare AI to two different things. One, I think it's sort of like an Excel formula, but like for people who did well. I'm based in the US, so I say on the verbal, like we have the math SATs and the verbal SATs. That's kind of how I see it. And again, if you do an Excel formula, like you kind of have to be able to draw your own conclusions. You have to be able to actually do the analysis. Another one that I've heard a lot is like a very enthusiastic intern. Like you'll give it the research, you'll kind of say, okay, like come up with some ideas for this, but you don't want the intern actually writing like or creating the real things for your business.
I don't like its ideas right now. I don't like its ideas right now. Okay.
Yeah, it's all going to be AI. That's my marketing. I think search is moving to AI. We're pivoting as an SEO company, and we're saying, we help users show up in AI overviews and ChatGPT because that's where things are going. Everything is going to shift towards AI.
The whole copyright thing, the final thing I'll say on that is you wouldn't believe the amount of businesses that approach me and go, I need content. And I go, okay, so what is your input source? And they go, can we just copy them and paraphrase it? You wouldn't believe it.
I mean, I do, but yeah, the easy way out is not, I keep saying that it's not the way. And that's my marketing future prediction, which I'm sure everybody else has said. Prediction for the world, I don't know. Things are weird right now, at least over here. So I'm going to let that one go aside for now. And for me, I don't know. I'm very happy. I've been at NextNet. I'll be 9 years in a few months. I never thought I would have stayed with this company for so long, but it's been just a great place to work. We're growing tremendously. I was there. I was, I think, one of 6, and now we've got a few hundred people all over the world. So
wow,
I'm staying on this ride until the wheels fall off, and I don't see that happening anytime soon.
4 years, 5 years. Okay, right, Rachel. What a pleasure! Great conversation.
Yeah, it was cool. Hope to have you on again, Rachel, next year.
Oh yeah. We'll see where things are at.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Bye bye.
See ya.